Yo, guys, what's up, man? It's Simon Dean, a.k.a. Nova. What's going down? You're listening to InYourHeadOnline.com. That's .com. Click it. Later.
Okay, Chris, you got anything else?
Yeah, I was wondering who came up with the diet gimmick?
I did, with Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart and I came up with the blow-away diet.
Are you surprised that they get over so well and like people still remember it?
Yeah, they do. A lot because I went to the ring with a scale that said 217. It was stuck on 217, and then I went with the Hugh Hefner wearing like pajamas and a robe, and then I take it all off, and then I'd be in my wrestling gear, and I'd still do my one-arm push-ups. I'd still come up to my feet, and I still never forget Vince McMahon coming in the dressing room at a TV when we got our booking sheets and got our airplane tickets for the next 10 days. He'd say to everybody, "I want everybody to go to the gym except Buddy Rose. Buddy Rose is an all-around athlete. He can play hockey, baseball. He can do it all. I don't want him looking all chiseled and everything. He can stay like he is, but everybody else has to go to the gym." And Vince was at the gym with them all working out. Vince Jr.
Right.
1990, 91, 1982 and 83, when I came in to work against Backlund and Pedro Morales, Vince Sr. was the boss.
What would you say the difference is between like working for Vince Sr. and Vince Jr.?
Vince Sr., there was really the only difference was Vince Sr. was the boss and Vince Jr. was, of course, the announcer. And Vince, they both treated me good. I have nothing bad to say about it. Both paid me very well. I was in the first WrestleMania match ever. And the thing is, Vince Sr. wasn't planning on going worldwide at the time. Vince Jr., after his dad passed away, it's needless to say, is the guy that wanted to go to the office at 8 o'clock in the morning and work till midnight, 7 nights a week. And if you're going to be dedicated that much to the business to do that, WrestleMania was the do or die for him to be able to do what he did. And I was the very first main event that went to the West Coast against Bob Backlund back in the early 80s. And Ray Stevens was the second main event because I was the one in L.A. at the Olympic Auditorium. At the Sports Arena, L.A. Sports Arena, and then we were in the Sports Arena in San Diego, and Ray Stevens wrestled Bob Backlund the second night we were on the West Coast. And I wrestled, I think, Pedro Morales.
You got any other questions there, Chris?
Yeah, I was wondering, do you still watch the product today, and what do you think of it?
Yeah, I still watch. I like to watch my old buddy Shawn Michaels, who I helped out when he first started, when he was 21 years old. Shawn Michaels, and I go to some of the shows when they come to the Portland area, to the Rose Garden. I got a suite there, so I just take a lot of my students to the shows, and I've got them tryouts, and I got one of my students got to work on a Raw and a SmackDown, and so basically I can open the door for a lot of kids because I can go down early and say hello to all the guys, and I see a lot of them at different reunions that I go to, like when I went to the WrestleMania 20 reunion, or when I go to autograph sessions around the country. I run into a lot of the wrestlers, or I talk to them via telephone or emails.
Do you think the Simon Dean character was a rip-off of your gimmick?
The what character?
The Simon Dean character.
It was a Simon Dean, and he was selling like the Simon system.
No, I don't see any of my gimmick in that at all.
I think one of our fans would know who. What you think would sell better, the Simon system or the blow-away diet?
Blow-away diet was just to be funny and
yeah.
to be entertaining.
It
was not. In fact, the phone number we gave them was honest to God to the Hershey Company, the 1-800-blow-away, 1-800-lard, or what it lard asked. It actually went to the Hershey Company, and the Hershey Company called up and we're getting so many phone calls. You guys got to change that number.
Right.
It was hilarious. It went right to Hershey, Pennsylvania.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Chris.
Thanks.
Yep. When Chris called in during on his 13th birthday and got a special birthday wish from Baron von Raschke.
Oh yeah, I know Baron Jim Raschke since I was a kid. And then I knew him after I got into wrestling. A very nice man that lives in Minnesota. That's where I grew up. Yeah.
We get another call here. I think he's got some phone problems here. Who is this?
Who?
The caller?
Me?
Yep.
Yeah, you.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a caller from the phone. It's Chelsea Nathan.
All right. You on Earth Buddy Rose? You got a question?
Yeah,
go ahead.
I I have two questions. My first question is, you were trained by Billy Robson, as you said. Yeah, but more especially, the question is about Billy Robinson. What do you thought of him, of Billy Robinson? And I don't know. This is the second part of the question. I don't know if you had experience in Japan, wrestling in Japan.
Yes.
So I would like to ask you, what do you think is the difference between wrestling in the U.S. and wrestling in Japan?
Okay, in Japan, the people are completely silent, and they applaud great wrestling or some kind of a great spot or something very aggressive. Otherwise, they don't make a sound. It's really hard to get them to react. I got them to react to the craziest things. So just when I took out my robe, when I take my robe off and then I go to fold it, they were like, they would pop for that. And I was like, that is weird. And when you're wrestling your opponent, they're real quiet. All you can hear is just our feet in the ring and the sound of the, when we hit the turnbuckle. If you took a hard turnbuckle, you could hear the people go, ooh,
Oh, like that, yeah.
And if I was wrestling Inoki, I went over there 5 times, 5 weeks at a time, and over the years in the 80s. And I went there in 1975 for Baba, for Verngania. And basically, I was over there with Dusty Rhodes and Abdullah the Butcher and Dynamite Kid and Bret Hart and Davey Boy Smith and Jim Neidhart. I was Hulk Hogan. I was tag team with him over there after he won the world title in WWF. And we were teamed up in Okinawa, Japan. I got a video of that still. And they're a lot stiffer over there. What I mean by stiff, they're a little more snug. And then in the U.S., they're basically over here. I was probably well known as one of the most believable workers, but you never felt me. And I'll tell you who would endorse that is Shawn Michaels. Will tell you that his 2 easiest matches of his life were Ric Flair and Buddy Rose, because he says he never felt us and the people believed everything we were doing. And Shawn Michaels is a night off himself.
Yep. In Japan, it's more of a respect thing. They are silent in respect to the athletes. They do in many other sports as well.
Yeah, they do. They're very respectful over there and everything. But you don't see any idiots or people acting like the fans do here, and they don't go as crazy as the fans do here. But you'd have to be in Japan to really live it and see it every single night to basically learn how to use the psychology in the ring to get them to pop.
Was it harder to work in front of them since they didn't react to everything you were doing? Unless it was like something big where they would clap?
Yes, I'll give you an example. I met with Abdullah the Butcher or Dusty Rhodes, and I swear to God, we're tag teaming, and you couldn't get a pop until like maybe Abdullah was backing up to do his elbow drop, and the people knew that the elbow was coming, and that was going to be the finish, and you'd hear him roar just to see him going back to do the elbow, and Abdullah the Butcher get up there, 5 feet in the air and drop that big elbow, and people just go, whoa, and then it'd be 1, 2, 3, and same for Dusty Rhodes, too. Honest to God, there was one time I was there in 75, and Dick Byers was wrestling as a destroyer, and he was yelling out a high spot to the Japanese guy in English, and Dick Murdoch is standing in the back with Dusty Rhodes and myself and Doug Summers, and I'm like 22, 23 years old. I'm 54 now, but Dick Murdoch yells out, "Kayfabe!" to Dick Byers, and he yells back, "The people don't speak English. They don't know what I'm saying." It was hilarious.
Well, thanks for calling in, LTNA fan. Did you have another question? Or?
I just had one more quick question.
Right.
You were talking about WrestleMania. Which is a quick question. You were talking about WrestleMania 1. Do you thought the question is about WrestleMania 1? Do you thought that WrestleMania would work and it would be as big as as the show is right now, and it would have the legacy that he has right now?
Nobody was for sure. I flew in the day before, and I spent the night in New Jersey, and then I just took my ride over to the building because it started at 1 o'clock in the afternoon on that Sunday, that very first WrestleMania. Because I flew home with Roddy Piper right after the show. We were on the same plane, and we got home at 10:30 at night into Portland, Oregon, and through Minneapolis. And I just remember us making a 5 o'clock flight out of there and getting home at like 10:30 after it stopped in Minneapolis and Spokane. But seeing Vince run around and yell Liberace, Muhammad Ali, you're on, and watching all that, he was very nervous, and a lot of wrestlers were trying to calm Vince down, telling him, don't worry, you're going to do good, and there's going to be a WrestleMania 2, and Vince was like, are you serious? And he goes, I think you look at the crowd out there, and look, I think you're going to do good, and I think you're going to have a lot of WrestleManias. And by the end of the night, Vince kind of figured the same thing. But there were wrestlers that were actually telling Vince to calm down. Everything was fine, and he doesn't have to, because that was his do or die baby that day. If it didn't do good, that was the end of the big expansion.
Mm-hmm.